All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome everyone to the OM upstream issue triad meeting. Today, we're just going to go over the list of issues that we have on the OM repo and also registry repo. And then hopefully, if we don't have any new issue, we're going to basically go back to the bottom of the list and close out a few issues that we have that basically stale or no longer relevant anymore to just clean up the backlog the issue a little bit. That would be helpful. Let me set screen. All right, let's get started with the OM repo. So this is the issue. First of all, this is actually not an issue. This is the question about dependency stuff. I will respond to it. It's essentially just the user asking about how to declare dependency pretty much. And he already mentioned about the GVK dependency. I also mentioned the package dependency and the link to the doc of our dependency resolution on the OM upstream website as well. And I think actually there's the next question that he asked. I haven't answered yet. And I just try to understand what's it I'm having a bit of trouble understanding the new question that he, or the point that he tried to make with the next question.
I think he's saying that you can only support one. Like it seems like it's conflating what OLM does and what your operator is declaring.
I mean, I did answer the. I think he was asking about if the package dependency. That means that if the package is not available, then the relation will fail. That is true. That was I answer that to him, and I say like if you this also happened to GVK dependency. If you asking for a GVK dependency, that GVK doesn't exist, it will fail. And so I think he was implying that if there's multiple operator owning the same API, then if one missing, then relations we're choosing the other one. And I think that's possible. It's happened before when there's multiple operator owning the same CID, but in reality, it's really rare. Most of the time, an operator owning a set of API that's basically on its own, it doesn't really share with anyone else. So I'm not sure.
Is he trying to differentiate between implementations of a specific API, trying to pick only one operator that implements an API?
I'm just ignoring the other one. What does that mean? I'm not sure I might read too much into this question, but I actually don't know how to answer this.
Wouldn't this work if he declared all of the APIs that he wanted to depend on from the specific operator that he depended on as a dependency? It looks like he just wants to claim that my operator depends on X operator rather than a GVK or an API specifically.
I think, yeah, you're right. I think maybe supports should be replaced with requires here, or depends on.
I think, yeah, so you say like he mean the word that depend on the specific API, not the word support specific API. But I think it's from what I'm seeing here, understand here, he said, what happened if I want to depend on a specific API of a specific operator and not the other one, meaning that he want to choosing as well on the, like what happened if they're multiple operator offering the same API and I want a specific one, not the other.
Yeah, so maybe we should just rephrase the question to him and ask if that's correct, and then we can follow up later and answer. So
yeah, and we can.
I think
I
this
guess
is what your question means, and then see if he agrees or they agree.
yeah. I guess we can ask him to clarify what he's trying to do here. Maybe that's the better solution here than just answering one question at a time. All right, I can answer this. We can move on. We don't have to tackle this for too long. I will respond later. All right, let's move on. There's a few issues here related to some of the testing work that we try to fix on our end-to-end issue, including this one, this one, this one. The next three is actually testing related issue that we have for the end-to-end test suite. So there's nothing to look further into it. I think we're having a few PR pending to resolve them. That's totally fine. And I think this issue from Nick is basically the descoping issue. Is that correct, Nick? Basically information regarding on that.
Yeah, I wanted to go over it. So this is a feature request.
You want to go over it or you don't want to go over it? I'm sorry.
I mean, it might be useful to go over it, but I think since it's a feature request, it's probably better to go over it in like a feature planning meeting or something.
Okay, cool. That sounds good. Yeah, let's go over that on the upstream feature meeting instead. Just you put unit flag here. Okay, wonderful. All right. I think this is the issue that we already go over already in the past. Oh, this is regarding a test, the test that doesn't work on Kai, I think. And I thought we would do something to skip the test. All right. And we haven't had agreement on this yet. So this is just up here pending, waiting for review. All right then. All right, it's just there's a PR pending. We're just waiting for it to get review and merge. This is just basically disable this specific image test for the sky for the sky cluster, which is doesn't work. I think that's all it is. There's nothing specific about this, and I think we already.
We asked, so Tim is here, right? So I see on a lot of these, Tim has removed the triage and had the kind failing test. Is this a new pattern we're following? And if so, is the intent to elide? Oh, did Tim drop as soon as I mentioned his name? Cool. Okay. Never mind then. Yeah, I'm wondering if his intention is to elide this type of test that we generate from failed, this type of issue that we generate from failed tests.
No.
Sort of triage.
No, this is the one that I think someone else actually run and reported it. This is not a part of our improved testing, even though we do track that on the, this seem to be an issue to track all of this.
Yeah, you're right. But again,
Yeah.
I think everything being tracked there, maybe there's some sort of scheme. I wasn't aware of that, but it looks like on every one of these that are in the tracking issue, the triage has been removed.
Oh, you mean like remove underneath here? Okay, that's fine. I mean, if you don't want to try it on here, then just consider this is already been tracked by our one, and that's totally fine by me.
Yeah,
all right,
I'm trying to just align everything that is as kind failing test from your query here.
All right. Okay. So that issue have been discussed in the past already. So I think we don't have any new issue on this repo. So let's move on to the cleaned up work that we want to do. So let's go to the bottom and let's see if anything here we can close out. All right. Installing the cluster into a dedicated namespace.
4.1 isn't supported.
I'm sorry, what you were saying?
4.1, OpenShift 4.1 is no longer supported.
Yes, that's true. I'm just saying, what is the main question here? I mean, we do allow user on the console side to having an annotation. I'm pretty sure to basically a refer namespace, and that's possible. This question is really old. I'm not sure if.
What was our latest responses? That's all. Well, still, what did Daniel respond with back in August of 20?
Yes, I think this already been responded.
No, I mean, like, what did he respond with?
I'm sorry, what are you saying, Nick?
What did he respond with? What was his response? So this functionality of the OpenShift console, not OLM, but see below. You're looking for this the next version of the ability to desired target namespace implies you must make a decision on the desired operator group in that namespace too.
I mean, Daniel is not wrong. The whole like refer namespace is the console feature. We don't, that's not OM feature.
Yeah, but so JARPA is asking for
Jose, yeah.
hard-coded namespace creation, which Daniel said that we would be tracking. I think the best course of action is probably to link this out to the maybe CSV list bundles. But so far as I to understand we don't actually have that specific feature planned as this person has stated. But I think this is so old that we should probably close it out. And then if they really care, they can reopen it.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I think we actually kind of support both of those earlier statements already. Like if we go up, the original one was, you know, it allows it to run cluster ride, and by default, you install it by the operator via the web UI. It always ends up in this namespace. We do have a suggested namespace annotation now that kind of handles this whole situation. So I don't even think we're like closing it because it's old. I think we're closing it because it's been addressed. Like this isn't something that we solve in OLM. This is a console level, like the solution exists within the OpenShift console. And this is like a downstream thing and not an upstream thing. So I don't think this issue should have even been created against this repo.
Yes, I agree. I think that what I said already with the annotation that you just mentioned, suggested namespace, and also Daniel already said it. This is a console, not OM particular feature. You want like this is console allow you to create certain namespace and stuff like that. And in reality, in CLI, you can create the subscription in a basic namespace if you want to. You know, that's not the problem there. It's up to what are you setting with the operator group on that namespace. But either way, I'm just gonna closing it because I feel like this is just no longer helpful here.
Yeah, I mean, for the sake of completion, we should probably point them to the thing Alex mentioned, the annotation in console.
Do we having a doc on the website for that? I'm not sure if we having a specific doc somewhere that mentioned in. Maybe on the Google Group section, maybe.
The annotation would be on the CSV, right?
Yeah, it is. I'm not sure where we mentioned it actually.
Annotation in the search box in the top right.
Once again. Maybe here. I'm not sure if we actually specifically mentioned the suggested namespace or annotation though. Do we?
I found the doc. It's not in our upstream docs though, but I think this question is more of a downstream question anyway, so we can just link it and then maybe also call out that this is the upstream repo and read the question.
Yeah, if you can post a link into that issue, that would be nice. I mean, the issue had been open 3 years ago, so I wouldn't put too much on the whole upstream downstream back then. But yeah, can you comment that for him just to help out? All right, let's move on. Oh, hold on.
What was that issue number?
927. Oh, this is the question about. All right, so essentially this is about private and internal CRD, essentially hiding kind of make the API become private. And I'm not sure if this is something OLM is supposed to be the one doing that, because CRD is community API, and obviously community doesn't have any kind of feature to allow you to make a specific API to be private. I don't think, at least that part I know about. So to me, this seems like something should be closed. But does anyone have any other?
I think I agree with you. I just
opinion?
like to see what Evan said down there. Okay. Anything else here?
That's it. That's basically one single comment. Everything else, no one else responded any further.
I would just make it pretty clear. So my opinion on this whole matter is that no, we can't really offer this. This just isn't a thing with the existing Kubernetes primitives that exist for CRDs, right? Like they exist cluster wide. They're available via discovery. They're there. And I don't think we're going to solve this as a part of OLM. And if this isn't a real thing, like we can recommend that they bring it up with the API team to make it so that this is an effective path. You know, like I don't think we're going to be able to implement that. I don't think we're going to plan to implement that based on our existing roadmap. And I think, to be quite frank, I don't think the API team would ever implement this.
So one thing that I noticed is the last sentence of the report. They do talk about, there's a question of, is there any way to differentiate these internal CRDs? So they are aware that, there's no concept like that in Kubernetes. That's why the air quotes in CSV such that the users of the operator aren't guided to create them manually. So it does seem like an OLM question, but then it also begs the question that since 2019, there hasn't been any follow-up. So what is the appetite for getting the answer for this? That's probably the question here.
So this is, yeah, I agree. I do think we've heard this request many, many times. And the thing that Evan points out here is that the thing that we can do is sort of provide more granular configurations for operator authors to sort of pick and choose what sort of access is granted to which resources. And I think what that means is that this gets wrapped up into the feature binding work that we're doing, because we're talking about sort of not throwing our hands up in the air, but like no longer automatically giving out access to namespaces and making that more configurable for operator authors. And I think what that'll end up looking like is something that allows them to do this internal CRDs with the RBAC that they, provide. So I think that feature binding, this should be a story on feature binding that a user can do that part. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would just, that's a feature binding story. That's not private or internal CRDs, like those are, I think the connotation of when someone says like private or internal CRDs is different than saying that I should be able to control which users are able to interact with this API when OLM installs. I think that second story is very powerful and useful, but I don't think that's captured in this ticket. And I don't think other people, especially people that aren't familiar with the project, would make that connection from this header and description.
I don't know. That first sentence there pretty much perfectly describes something that you could do with feature binding, and that we should make sure that you're able to do with feature binding. And in fact, it's one of the first things that like came to my mind as I was like sort of showing off what you can do with something like feature binding, or even like take a step back, even getting rid of like operator groups. You could do this if it was just you drop your RBAC in the bundle and we don't assume anything about like what we should generate for you. I don't know. I think it's more reasonable than that to connect these dots, but we don't have to get hung up on that here.
Yeah, I think we're both in agreement that
Go ahead, Alex.
I think we're both in agreement that the feature binding bit of this should be taken, but I mean, there's very clearly in this ticket support for private / internal CRDs. I don't know how you're interpreting the term internal CRDs, but that, in my opinion, conveys like, I don't want this to be discoverable. I don't want other people to even be able to really use it. Like, I don't know how you're dropping that distinction. I do understand how you're pulling out the bit in regards to the ability to the feature binding it. I see where you extract that from this story, but I think like what we should do is call out the feature binding part of this is something we're going to do, but I don't want to go anywhere near saying we support internal CRDs.
Yeah, I don't think there's a definition of internal CRDs. I think the interpretation can be very loose. You're obviously interpreting it in a way where it involves hiding it from discovery somehow. And I'm not. So that alone seems like maybe that's contentious. So maybe we should come up with another term for it when we describe it. But for that second part, like I would highlight what Evan said, like we can be more careful, blah, 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 and then just say, this is what we're trying to do with feature binding. And then link out to that.
Yeah. So I'm actually not entirely sure. Actually, but I do agree with Alex that I think the first section here is totally on the whole like public-private CRD. Especially with the first sentence, he said that we actually owning those two API CRD, and we want to make one of them public, the other one private. But the second question is similar to what Nick just said, that there's implication of feature binding here, that I actually want to having access to this API or not, using certain permission and so on. So there's a little bit, I can see why Nick linked it into the feature binding based on the second question here.
Could we just call out that when we were reviewing this ticket, we identified these two separate things and make it clear that we're not supporting any form of a internal private non-discoverable API, but then also point out that the feature binding bit of this should and could be addressed. That way we're covering all our.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Though I feel, to be honest, this should be closed given the fact that this is to me it leans toward the home private public API. And do we have anything concrete on the feature binding that we can put here? Otherwise, we mention something that doesn't even have anything concrete, and it's not really helpful. Like an issue somewhere on the hack MD maybe.
I'm just gonna give you a link to that hack MD.
Nick, would you mind if you can comment on this issue? That would be nice.
Number 975.
Yeah, 975. All right, then Nick will comment on this with the feature binding. I think that should be fine. All right, then let's move on to the next issue. Let's see if we have any. Oh, Alex actually commented on this in the past. This is operator group situation here. This is basically a namespace scope operator having a dependency on a cluster scope operator, and then obviously the namespace itself is, I think, only supporting names. Oh, no. And I think they tried installing on the namespace that only support cluster scope, I think. Basically all namespace mode. And then it failed to install because this namespace doesn't allow all namespace mode. So this is basically an existing problem already that the resolution doesn't take in account the namespace mode that we're using for operator group. So this is nothing. Yes, Alex here is basically said already about the operator group. I'm just thinking there's the way to answer this that actually helpful here, and the fact that this scenario is simply just doesn't work.
Are they complaining that the subscription generates an install plan with unsupported install mode? Are they saying that they don't want OLM to generate the install plan if it's an invalid?
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain implication on that statement that, oh, if there's a problem with the namespace situation, essentially with the operator group, then you shouldn't even create the install plan in the first place. Reality is that I mentioned earlier, the resolution, the resolver doesn't take in account operator group at all. So it will simply create the install plan because it's able to identify the dependency and create the install plan for that, and so subscription for that. And that's that. And then if the problem here is create a CSV and then there's namespace problem, then it's just gonna fail. This is an existing problem that we have already. And I don't think we have any solution or anything to fix, so to speak, this problem until we, I don't know, remove the operator group entirely and make everything singleton.
It might just be worth shouting out our plans for descoping operators and then saying that, you know, this just isn't like, this isn't going to be this won't be an issue at that point, right? Once we descope. Yeah. And I agree, it's a reasonable request that, oh, don't create the install plan if we know it's going to fail at the subscription point. But until the like the subscription doesn't know the supported install modes of the CSV before the install plan is generated with the install steps. I suppose you could look at the CSV when you're building those install plan steps and then just not create it, but is that worth doing?
I could have sworn that this was already done.
You mean detecting that if this is not some unsupported install mode and not create the install plan? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I'm not aware of that work have
Yeah.
been done. At least for me, I'm not saying that I know everything, to be honest with you, but I'm not aware of that because this is on the resolver side. And I know resolver doesn't take into account install plan, I mean, install mode at all. It's simply just to find the bundle and install it, which is meaning create install plan for it. Yeah, I mean, we can link this back to the scoping issue feature that Nick just created recently. And I hope that's maybe helpful about this. Or unless we're having a specific attempt try to resolve it on the resolver side, then that's a little bit different, but I don't think we will. I think most likely going to be under the scoping side work than actually less the resolver dealing with the operator group and only the install mode that we support. All right. See if I can get the issue number for this. Okay, I'm gonna do it real quick.
There's also do not transition IP to failed on OGSA failure. This is not it, sorry. Okay. I'll just try to find something outside of this.
You were saying something, Nick?
Don't worry about it, it's not relevant.
Okay, cool. Let's move on to the next issue. So we can try to close out a few more if we can. All right then. This is complaining about literally catalog source. Get into the crash loop back off situation without clear message.
That's complaining that the readiness probe is failing.
Yeah,
Not
it's the
listening.
liveness spell. This seems to be quite a few common here actually. Did we, I'm trying to recall if we had any issue with the liveness drop on the catalog source side before. This somewhat sound familiar to me.
We did have one. There was something quite a while ago with Cube SDN and the liveness probe, where the liveness probe was going out of the pod to resolve in certain situations. I believe Evan had a few PRs to fix this, where there was a file added to the Docker file. Sorry, yeah, there was a file added to the Docker file to change the way the ID tables work or something.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. That I remember it's something to do with DNS or something like that. In
this message to them here.
I'm not sure if this is entirely resolved already. The last comment here is in on April. Maybe we already fixed this. Would be nice. We can link it to the fixed PI. Is that a fix on the registry side, Nick? Maybe.
Yeah. I don't know if it's the same thing.
There's actually a merge PR here. Is that the one we're talking about?
These are all open pairs. You want to take those pairs?
This may be the one that we are talking about.
You want to look at closed PRs? This is open.
Let's see if we have any close here. Even though that one actually sound like relevant. Oh, did I? Hold on. Update something. No, it isn't. I don't see anything here related to that. At least on the registry side, I don't see it. The only thing that's sound related to that is actually that open PR that I just mentioned. Otherwise, anything else seems not related to health or gRPC related at all. At least the one that we already merged. So maybe this is actually created in August. So maybe this is the one that we attempt to. Should be on the registry side.
There's one. I think these are separate things. I'm wondering if this is just an issue with a particular setup, but there's nothing really that like relates it to these changes.
Yeah, I'm sure I couldn't find anything.
I just linked two bugs, by the way.
Do you do? Okay, hold on, sorry.
So that was one of them.
Oh, that's wonderful. All right then. So it seems like this issue have been resolved. Even though there's someone just comment in this year's April actually. So I'm not sure. Oh yeah, this DNS sound familiar, yeah, for sure. When you think much last year. All right, let's link this to that specific.
I don't know if this is related at all. I don't really see any, honestly, I don't see anything that is making me think that it's related.
Yeah, I think so too, because this specifically seems to be fixed the gRPC connection. I'm not sure how often this issue happening actually. I mean, we create a Kai cluster pretty often for testing, local testing and stuff, and I don't remember the last time I saw a fail catalog source that is the default one. And we can see here it's actually failed pretty often. Actually, I mean, pretty early. It's like it's constantly failing. Even though this is very own release, 0.15, we on 18, 19 now. And it's just common that potentially this should only been resolved. And let's see if they can test it out and see how it works. If it's resolved already or not.
Yeah, it looks like it's a stale resource to me because it was 2019. So we can just say that it's stale and close it out, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the original comment is stale, but this is another comment here. This on April this year.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, at the bottom. So that's what I'm saying.
Did the comment from April 7th say which OLM version they're using, or?
Yeah, I think the original comment was on the 0.15, which is really old, but whoever comment this on April should be on a newer version, I would say. Maybe 17, 18, if he commented on April.
Yeah, I mean, we are assuming that we could probably ask them that and then, make sure that these PRs did resolve it.
Actually, this is a bad idea doing this.
Okay. Exact format error. Right, so is the thing creating that pod still setting exec that way?
So there's another issue related to catalog actually. On the fact that some of the observing states stay connecting for so long. This is not a new issue actually. Even on our end-to-end testing, sometimes the catalog can be stuck in connecting for a little bit of time, even though in this specific case, this is stuck over 10 minutes, which is surprisingly long than I expected to be. We have done a few things already to improving this at this point, I think. And this is really an own comment on 0.11. I wonder if the issue may no longer be the case anymore.
I think we should like do due diligence and just test it, you know.
Yeah, I think that's totally fine. Get a guide cursor up and delete the part, I assume, in hold on. In doing so, that shouldn't be a problem. I will comment on this.
The only issue with that is this issue will probably stay open for a bit more.
I don't know if you go and run the test on master and it updates right away. Say, I'm reasonably sure we fixed this, and then close it.
Yeah, I think this I'm sorry, this should be just a quick test to see if it's still happening or not, and then we can close it out. I think I should be able to do so. I'm just gonna comment it here. I expect it's no longer a problem anymore. But you know, like Nick said, just a quick testing to confirming it, and we can tell like, oh, here and latest master is no longer a problem, and so on, to make it official. That's fine. All right, I will assign it to myself so I don't forget about it. And we'll close down if it's no longer the case. And that's all. I think we may have enough time for another issue and close it down, hopefully. This question is, if anyone having any comment ready? I think Dan were already answering this with some suggestion already, but there's no further comment back from the author. Oh, there's a candidate to closing it out. So essentially, this question about the configuration of operator that they want to enforcing, even though I'm wondering what specific configuration that they talking about. If this is some custom resource configuration, then that's something you should add into the AOM example on the CSV. But if it's something further than that, then it's going to be a different question there, because we allow you to specify any configuration on the CR on the CSV, and it should surface on the on the web console, and user can changing it if they want to, or keep the default value there. Then that shouldn't be a problem. I'm not sure if that's actually answering this question or not. I mean, basing on this sentence, it seems like that what they want is custom, like, you know, custom resource instances mean the CR, and that should be on the OLM example annotation. I'm just saying, what's this sentence mean with a generic general operator?
I think they mean they don't want to implement something for managing configuration directly. Might be in response to step 1 above.
Yeah, so I can even on the part I said early on about the example annotation. So if you having a set of config for a specific scenario that you have and you put that on a CSV, then that config it for that specific CSV. So if you're having a different version of the configuration that you need to put out there, then you obviously need to create another operator, so to speak, here, because you know the configuration is basically fixed on the specific CSV. There's no way to changing it post installation unless the user changing it themselves. There's no way for us to changing it based on user selection or something like that. So that is not a thing. So do we have, and like, you know, in a real way, that the combo thing that we have been talking about actually applicable in this situation, don't you think, Nick?
I do.
Yeah, so maybe we should bring that up.
Yeah, I don't want to prescribe anything, as I agree. Like, it's not clear whether combo is going to be the thing that we use for feature finding. Like, we can use it. We can use it for configurations as well. So.
Yeah, it's, to me, in my specific opinion, it's more like a template thing that, oh, you're having a set of value that you want to apply at installation time, and there's a way to doing so by having a set of value that you redefine, and then it's going to be applied to the cluster if they want to. And I think the only thing changing there is just literally a set of value, even though everything else remaining the same. So I mean, either way, it seems like the author doesn't respond it back anymore, so we can actually closing it out. And if they want to reopen it, they can reopen it. Is that okay?
Yeah, you
Anyone
can
see
link
an
combo
issue with that?
too.
I'm sorry?
You can link combo too. Like, this is
Yeah, that's fine.
a general config operator that you might be able to use, but it's not packaged yet, but it's on the path to do.
let's see. That combo, right? Yes. Oh, I totally lost track of. Oh, all right then. All right, all right then. That's wonderful. So I think that's it for today, everyone. I think we over time 5 minutes already. So I think that should be it for today in terms of like is to try it. I would like to thank you everyone for joining, and I will see you next week and enjoy the rest of the day. Bye.
Thanks, Stu.